to your second part on aperture. Today we will be discussing a wide aperture, or a shallow depth of field. What is a shallow depth of field? Well, first you need to understand what a depth of field is in general, which is the measure of how much of a picture is in focus. So if there's a lot in focus, it has a deep depth of field. Think like water. The more you have, the deeper it is. If there isn't much in focus, it's a shallow depth of field. The less you have, the more shallow. And to the right, you can see a very shallow depth of field image of my husband. It was shot with a 50mm 1.2. What difference can it make? It can help change the focus of an image. The image on the left focuses more on the person and gives a bit of a voyeuristic view. However, with the image on the right, it focuses more on what the person is doing. Looking at the one on the right, people usually notice Netflix. Versus the one on the left, people notice the person, and then they see, oh yeah, he's doing something with a tablet, but the subject's the person. And a shallow depth of field can also draw attention to the subject by making everything else less noticeable. This is especially useful when dealing with a busy or distracting background. In the above image of the branch with the little flowers on it, behind the image there's a whole bunch of other branches with a whole bunch of other flowers. And so it's really hard to see just the subject of the photo if the background were not blurred. But because it is, you can pay attention to the subject at hand. And the same's going on with the dragonfly over here. Looks like it's eating something actually. But these guys tend to blend in really well with their backgrounds just because they look like any other stick or piece of grass. And so using a shallow depth of field really helps bring out the shape of the subject of the photo that you want. In my case, either flowers or a very hungry dragonfly. And a shallow depth of field can also isolate the subject against others. For example, in this photo, there is a bee on a flower, but if you look in the background, there's a lot of other flowers too. So by using a shallow depth of field, I'm bringing the eye's attention to what I want you to focus on, which would be this cute little fluffy bumblebee on this flower. And to the right, you can see two other images where I only have one out of the multiple objects in focus. So I've got one itty bitty flower out of the group in focus, bringing your eye to that one flower instead of all of them. And the same is going on with the little gnarled leaf down here. Instead of being observant of all of the leaves, I'm just focusing on the single one. And here you can see some animated GIFs of different uses of a shallow depth of field or playing with a depth of field. And down in the bottom left is actually a GIF from the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. It's when they were first on the road taken off from the Shire, and Frodo realizes that something bad is kind of coming along that road and that they should kind of sort of maybe leave quickly. And by backing up but also zooming in at the same time, they're changing the depth of field, which creates that really spooky, unnerving effect. Okay, and for your assignment, I'd like you to go out and shoot an image that displays the use of shallow depth of field. So I want you to use a lower number in your aperture setting. The image is to be shot outside of class, and you want your camera to be in AV mode, and you want your aperture to be as low as possible. Changing the aperture is just like how you would change your shutter speed on TV mode. So, and if you have any questions, feel free to give me a shout and ask away. Thank you.